When working with images, you may want to crop the original. For example, in this particular shot, I want to focus a little bit more on the statue. So I'm going to choose the crop tool from the tool palette. This is the crop tool, or you can select C on the keyboard. For example, if we have another tool selected, if I push C, it'll change it to a crop tool. I'm now going to select an area, and I don't have to refine this selection because I have some handles here, and I can move those in a little bit, and then I can move the crop area around. Once I find the area that I want to crop, I will then double click, and that will crop the image. I can now look at the image in the actual pixels, and I'll notice that this is a very large image. So I may want to email this image, and if I email it, I want to resize the image, or I may want to resize it based on the print. So if I want to take it to a print processor, I will have to change the size. So I'm going to come over here to Image, Image Size, and I want to make this into a 5:7. Now I'll notice here that I have two ways of looking at this: pixel size and document size. When thinking about computer images, you want to be looking at pixels. When thinking about print images, you want to think about the document size. Also, I noticed that right over here I have a link for the height and width. If I deselect the constrain proportions, however, that will change the height and width. So if I come over here and I change 5, that will actually not change the height. So I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to go back over here to Images, Image Size, and now I have that selected with my proportions. I can come over here and I can change this to 5, and that's not quite by 7. So if I want to change that to a 5:7 so that I get the correct type of print, I can either do one of two things: go back and change my crop areas, or I can just type in 7 and then hit OK. Now that will change the proportions just a little bit, so I'm going to go back over here and fit this on the screen. Doesn't look too bad, so I think I'm going to go with that, but I actually want to resize this a little bit more because I'm going to send this by email. So I'm going to go back to Image Size. I'm going to look at my pixels this time because I want to send this over email. I'm going to change this to 400 width, but if we'll notice that I'm also don't have my constrained proportions selected, so I'm going to select that and hit 400, and that will change the height and width proportionally. Hit OK, and this is how my image will look. But I'm going to go over here to the view and see. I'm going to put it in actual pixels. So these are the actual pixels of 400 width by the height as well. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to save this particular image. I'm going to save as, but I'm not going to save it in the same file name because I want to retain my original image quality. So I'm going to call this statue 1, and I'm going to select as a copy. We also have several other formats that I can save it in. I can save it in as a TIFF or a PNG file, a BMP file, or I can even have it as a Photoshop PDF or several other file types. So I'm going to retain my JPEG because that's usually the best for pictures. And I'm going to click on Save. Okay, I'm going to have the highest quality here, so I'm going to leave it at 12 and OK. Alright, now I'm going to go here and I'm going to close the original image, and as I do, I'll get a dialog box that asks me if I want to save it. I'm going to click Don't Save. That way I still retain my original image, and as we see here, we have statue 1 and statue. Now I'm going to right click on statue and get info, and we'll notice that the original file size of that image is 4.1 megabytes. I'm now going to right click on statue 1. This is the one that I cropped and resized, and I want to check out my file size here, and I'll notice that that is 316 kilobytes. So looking at the original of 4.1 megabytes compared to 3.16 kilobytes, that's quite a size difference. And if I want to send several images over the internet in this particular file size, I will be able to do so. Well, thank you, and try out the crop tool and the resizing tool and see what Photoshop has to offer you.